Welcome to the Pink Lady Posse podcast, where women over 50 take a fresh look at living, toss out tired stereotypes, and say a big heck yes to what's next. I'm your host, Sandy Parker, and around here, we challenge limitations, rewrite the story on aging, and reclaim our power, pleasure, and purpose. Why? Our next years are not about a decline. They are our big reveal. Let's go. Hello, everybody. It's Sandy Parker Martinez this week. Sometimes I'm Martinez, sometimes I'm Parker. And I am actually here with someone I respect about money. Welcome, Katie Armstrong. Glad to have you.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we met at the Be More conference. We have friends in common, and I'm a panelist this time, and you've done it a lot. And I think I remember meeting you about the topic of money going, I am keeping up with her because, money's a thing.
Money is a thing, and money is a thing that's always a thing.
It was, in fact, this morning on the call, I was telling everybody I got to meet with you, and I said, I don't know if money makes the mood or mood makes the money.
I like that.
I'm not sure because I've been in times where distressed money made a horrible mood. I've also been in a space where elevated mood made impractical money decisions. I'm kind of there right now, right? So things are good, but I find myself spending in ways. Back to the topic at hand, and that is women 50 plus in my particular area go through so many transitions in life. It could be divorce, it could be widowhood, it could be downsizing. So, what I'm looking at with you as an expert for money, what do you see the common transitions are about money? And then, how do you guide people in terms of helping them know what transition phase they're in?
Okay. So, before I answer that, and I might answer that with this answer, but I think something that would be really important to just address is that a lot of times when we shift from one season to another, we notice our relationship with money changing. And something that I want all women to pay attention to is their unique personal relationship with money. As children, as adolescents, as young women, there are so many examples of relationships with money that we witness, we absorb, we are exposed to, whether it's parents, partners, friends, mentors. And I shouldn't just say when we're children, this is happening throughout life. But the earlier that we can recognize, hey, everyone's got a unique relationship with money. I don't need to borrow by osmosis someone else's relationship with money. I get to create my own relationship with money. That is a foreign concept to many, right? I think a lot of us grew up believing there is a way that you handle money. There is a way that you interact with money. There is a way that money should make us feel. Money is so weird because it truly takes on sort of a life of its own based on our biases and our experiences and our stories and what we've witnessed. And I know everyone listening to this podcast probably has heard something about stories with money, right? Personal experiences with money. We're all shaped differently. But I think the important work that we as women need to do is learn to develop our own personal relationship with money and be very aware of when others with money are starting to, right, attach to us by osmosis. But a lot of women have kind of chameleon tendencies. I do. I always have. I still do. I'm just aware of it now. And so, right, you have a new friend or a new partner and you start to take an interest in their interests. You start, right? Like a lot of us do that. And I think for a lot of women, we were like that's how you survive, right? Like in this
Right.
world. And so I have worked with several women during a period of divorce or separation or just on the other side of divorce. And I've heard the comment before, blah, blah, I was pretty good with money. I kept a budget. I didn't overspend. Knew like I was good with money. And then I married so and so or had this relationship and I don't know what happened. Like I'm horrible with money now. And I just think it is so interesting how that can happen, how that the impact of another person's relationship with money can have on our relationship with money. Okay. So maybe you've never had a positive relationship with money and you want to learn, right? That is the direction you're headed. Or maybe you resonate with that. Oh, I was good with money in my 30s, blah, blah, blah. Or I was good with money when I was a teenager and I was, making my own money for the first time and balanced the checkbook. Like what happened, right? So I just want to acknowledge how common that is. And I think those life transitions, whether it's career, maybe you are in career and you are earning money. And so the perspective shift is my money, I see the hours put into that, right? Like you see sort of that exchange versus maybe a period where you are more managing the money or spending the money out of necessity, right? But disconnected from the earning piece. Like there's a lot of ways that we can transition what the household looks like, how many kids are home, right? New additions to the family, people leaving the nest, grief, inheritance, right? Older generations passing on and leaving the stories, the relationship with money, the money or the lack of money, right? The surprises that maybe come with the transition. A lot gets exposed when there's a transition of money.
I want to just pipe in here for a minute and
Yeah.
tell you because what the parallel is that I see with the Pink Lady Posse and the work we're doing is that your life is yours to create the way you want to. And I use this analogy of let's say I inherit a Victorian house, but I'm not a Victorian personality. Why do I leave the drapes and the rug and that gross sofa? Why do I not make it my house? But a lot of my life I inherited from how I grew up, what my parents thought, what the beliefs around me were. And now I'm almost 70. It's high time I get to create my own life.
Could even push it a layer further. Why not sell the house?
Yeah, girl.
Like,
My husband yesterday said, we can live full time on a cruise for $50,000 a year. I'm like, that's sounding pretty good. But so the other thing is what the Pink Lady Posse wants to do is surround a woman with connection, support, tools, podcasts, conversations, learning from other women. And I know as a widow, my hospice group stayed together after our training ended. We've met every Monday at 9 a.m. for 6 years.
it's
That
amazing.
is a lifeline. Whether you're going through a divorce or a move or a downsize or whatever, I believe that we all benefit from being surrounded by the support of other women. And I know you're an advocate for women having a good relationship with money. I'm an advocate for women having a good relationship with whatever support they need wherever they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
So, as you have been working with, and one of the seasons I think is interesting is becoming debt free. That's not a season I'm familiar with. But then there's also wise use of money when you're making it. So, back to the topic, what key phases have you seen women go through outside of these evolutions you just talked about? And what support do you recommend for them?
Okay. Well, I definitely have put a lot of my effort and energy around helping women become debt free, because that was the biggest sort of transition and catalyst for change in my personal life. And it was that early transition for me of going into earn my own money and okay, this is my life to sort of create, right? And there was a lot that I wanted to do. Like there was a lot I wanted to enrich my life with, and I didn't have the money to do it because I was making these payments.
Right.
So the debt was basically telling me where my money needed to go, and I had lost sort of that control, right? And it felt helpless. I felt out of control because I didn't know how to make a dent. For a lot of people today, interest rates are so much higher, cost of living is higher overall. Like making a dent feels impossible. Just keeping up with payments for a lot of people is feeling really hard. It's one of the top complaints I hear is just my income, just I can't make progress. So for me, it was like that was a catalyst for change when I saw that I had just this power to shift my finances. I had this power where I could, be focused, be intentional about the debt specifically. And I saw a change happening before me. And that was when I started to change my relationship with money. I stopped looking at it as something that was happening to me. And I started partnering with my money as like, we're going to do this together.
Never heard that in my lifetime.
That was sort of the first stage, right? And I was young, right? I was in my 20s. I didn't know anything about having dependents or, right? It was just like, we're going to like, let's do this. Like my competitive spirit nature was like, we're in this together. And like, you want to be spent in a fun way. This is not fun. So that was kind of the energy was like, let's just get rid of this. And then something that I think another phase for many women is some type of motherhood or caretaking. And in that season, I think a really, really healthy way to look at money is like a child, like something that requires your caregiving. Because money, we all know this. You give it an inch, it's going to take a mile, right? Just
Yeah.
like kids, just like kids. So I was a high school teacher for about 15 years. I've been a mother now for 11 years. I've got a couple of decades under my belt, sort of caregiving, teaching in that role. And I taught high schoolers. And it's funny because one of the very first things I learned, I went to like a teacher camp when I was 22 years old before my first year of teaching. And one of the things that they taught us was to not smile before Thanksgiving. Literally, they were like, you've got to hold the boundaries. You've got to, be strict, strict with rules. No smiling until Thanksgiving break. And it's just that old adage, like you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. And so money is the same way. It's like for a period of time, we really have to like put the boundaries up. And I smiled. I just want to like make that very clear. I smiled. But like money and kids, right? When you think about kids, it's like they don't want boundaries. They just want to have fun and be free and be kids. But any of us that have done any caretaking or have had children or have taken care of children know that kids actually crave boundaries. They need to know where to push a little bit. They like structure. It's healthy and they're happy when they know this is kind of how the day unfolds.
Right.
Why does every single classroom teacher have sort of the daily schedule? Kids like that structure and knowing what is coming. It is regulating, right? And again, it's like if you're thinking about how do I start to have a different relationship with money? Well, how could you help your money regulate? How could you give it some boundaries, give it some structure? How could you tell your money, February's coming? This is what we're doing in February. This is the plan for February. This is how you're going to support me in February. You wouldn't talk to a child like that necessarily, but the childlike nature would be, here's what we're doing. This is the plan. We might make some changes to the plan, but right now, these are the choices that we're making. and this is what we're going to be doing.
In my mind, I've never heard anything like this in my life. Now, I will say, I want to just put my own personal example in here to
Yes,
validate my
please.
own, affirm myself that I'm not crazy when it comes to money. But I was 40 when I married, and all I wanted to do my whole life was get married and have a baby. Then I got married and I had a baby. And I told my husband, if you start taking my power away of how I treat this baby and what clothes I buy this baby and how I treat her, because I want her to have the cutest dresses and the best, if the day ever comes when you say you can't buy that, it's not going to be a good day. So I want to line up what you're responsible for and what I'm responsible for, so you don't ever get in my lane about that child's money. And another thing is my vacation. If I'm in London and want to take a limo so I can see above ground, that's my prerogative. I'm not going to ride the subway because we've already bought a $4 subway ticket. So I had in my lane our fun and my child in terms of clothes and things like that. And nobody's ever heard of anything like that. But it was like, I have the fun money and you have the bill money. And I am so proud of myself because in all of our relationship, he passed away in 2019. I never had a vacation I didn't get to do my way. And I never was limited on the things that were the most fun money for me.
Yeah.
But that's the only relationship with money where we had a deal. Everything
love
else seemed to be like a bill. It didn't seem to be like fun. Anyway, I love that part of my life that I got to experience that way.
the fun. So we have what we call fun money in my marriage. And it's something that we both get every month, like clockwork. I mean, it is an automated part of our money system is we both get fun money and there's no questions asked. Like you just get to play and do what you want. And, that's where he gets to do his thing and tell me about it. And I get to come home with shopping bags and tell him about it. And there's none of that. How much was that? Didn't you just go shopping? Right? Like those conversations that I think a lot of couples probably have, or the sneaking around. I've had girlfriends tell me, do all the shopping, come home, unpack everything, make sure that like recycle the bags. Like there's no evidence of it. And no, that's not a way to be in a marriage. And that's not a way to enjoy spending your money if it
No.
requires that kind of extra or so I love that you brought up fun money. That's definitely a whole nother topic. But having having that kind of open communication with anyone that you're partnering with or in a household with, like, here's our rules about money, and making sure that the fun stuff is part of it just makes the rest of it easier.
I think I read that before you got married, you and your husband kind of sorted out the rules about money.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's huge. And it there are a lot of things we sorted out before we got married. Let's just be clear. Um, and and I'm not quite at your 50 plus age group, but I'm getting there. And so, I was getting, and I got married a little bit later too, but I was, at a period in my life where I was making money, not a lot, mind you. I was a private school teacher. I wasn't making very much at all, but I had shifted what I was doing with money and I was in control of it again. And that was really important to me, that I knew that we were going to continue to move forward with money. And it was very important to him too. He saw me go through that whole transformation with money. And so it was very important for him to see me go through that and know kind of the momentum I was carrying with me into our engagement and into our marriage. And so that was really the cornerstone of a lot of trust that we built, and partnership and teamwork and excitement for our future together. Right?
Well,
Is like we knew that we were not going to fight about money. We knew that we were not going to struggle with money. There would be questions, there would be choices to make, there would be, ups and downs in career and blah, blah, blah. But but we knew that the foundation was set.
Well, the other thing I heard you say several times now is teamwork, because I think you were a coach and a teacher. I mean,
Yeah.
teamwork is in your DNA,
Yeah.
right? The other thing I just want to go back and reinforce is what you said, that putting a structure in place is, like you were saying, teaching or working with your money like a child, just being really clear about the boundaries and then realize things change.
Yeah.
And so I have a question. We're about to do, it's January of 26. I still haven't done a vision board. Sometimes I think vision boards are kooky because you put on there a pile of money and then, you know, you have no plan to get it, but it's in your realm of vision. So when you think people are looking ahead at their year, how do you recommend they envision money outside of a structure? Like, do you have, do you know what I'm asking?
Yeah, I think so. So I've never really made a personal money goal other than, so it started out with pay off this credit card. I had very specific goals when I was paying off my debt. So when, and I just started working with a few new clients kind of in the new year. And for a lot of them, it is, we have this goal, we have this goal, we have this goal. And I really like to break the specific money goal down very, very, very small, right? The next week, the next 2 weeks. And so we break the goals down into micro goals as we get started. I think just yesterday, my podcast episode is released. New Year, same me. Okay, New Year,
Ah,
same me. And in it, I talk a lot about how, making these big sweeping money goals at the beginning of the year can be impossible. And so go ahead and listen to that.
I
But,
will.
I think that the idea of a money goal at the beginning of the year, unless it is micro, can be really hard because a lot of times they feel so big that even a dent in the goal, like you haven't made any progress yet necessarily, and there's no win to be celebrated yet. So I'm not a big like money goal person, but what I do like when it comes to like a vision board is what are some of the things that I want to spend my time doing? Because a lot of times how we spend our money is telling us what we prioritize, right? If I looked at your credit card balance or your bank account,
Oh,
would
yeah.
it tell me what you prioritize? And for a lot of people, it's like, oh, streaming services and takeout. Is that what you prioritize? Right? Netflix and DoorDash. And the reality is a lot of us rely on convenience because we're busy. Would I see your hobbies? Would I see date nights with your husband? Would I see experiences with your kid? Like what are the priorities that you want to make sure your bank account is reflecting this year? And that's the route I would go when it comes to goal setting.
I like that. Well,
Um,
one of the things we're about to have that experience 3 times between now and the end of January, because I couldn't even make my steps until I know where I'm even headed. But we're going to break it down into 3 sections. Who do I want to be? What do I want to have? And what do I want to do?
yeah.
I'll give you another example in my life, which I never know why I even started talking about money, because this is, anyway, when my husband passed, I had a tax issue because I thought our taxes had been paid and they
Hmm.
weren't, had not been. When I discovered that, I felt like an outlaw. Like I
Mm,
thought, are they going to show up and arrest me? Like I became so small about it that I just sort of went into a cave and hid out. And then I remember I don't want to live this way.
yeah.
Like it's just not who I want to be. So I was in a class at the time and they said, if you had all the money you wanted, and it was about money, ironically, if you had all the money you wanted, how would you be different? And I remember thinking, I wouldn't be afraid. I would just be responsible.
Yeah.
And it was like, what shifted in me? I thought, well, I could just be responsible. So I actually called on my support group and confessed it. I said, okay, I've been hiding out and I want to be responsible. So I'm just saying to you and you and you and you, just ask me in a month, how's it going? Set up a little accountability circle, right? And one of them said, I know the guy. Call this guy. And I called a guy and I said, listen, I've been fear and shame for years. And he goes, well, how about you give me the fear and shame and let's just get it done. And I remember in my heart just going, whoa,
Yeah.
that feeling of who I want to be. So this year, who do I want to be with my money? I get to control that, right? And if I need guidance, or if I need the guy, or if I need the woman,
Yeah.
which is why I have women on my podcast because I like dealing with women, then there are resources to set aside any program that you want that you decide for your life.
Yeah.
So I feel like I got kind of preachy about that, except it was such a big moment in my life where I claimed my own power over the way I want my life to go instead of living in this huddled up, icky, I'm a loser. Ugh. And I know you must run into people that feel that way.
Well, and that is the perfect example of how things can shift when you start looking at your money like someone or something that needs your caregiving,
Mm.
right? We have to be responsible in that caretaker role. And if we're looking, if we're again, like this energy with money of it has control over me, it can make me feel guilty or ashamed. Where did that come from, right? The not paying the taxes wasn't necessarily your decision, right? So like where did that come from? And how do you want to be in relationship with your money? And so the outside things are going to happen, right? The dog is going to need something at the vet. And a lot of times, or like my kid's going to need an expander and braces, right? So a lot of people will say, well, it's this big expense that's coming and we don't know how much. And they kind of spiral into this, make it really big. I can't plan for this. It's just going to have to be what it is. Where instead it's like, well, what if we called and asked? What if we, got the number ahead of time? What if we scheduled the appointment out a couple of months? If you can, some emergencies are emergencies, but can we plan for it a little bit better? And so can we nurture this situation and be in control of the situation? And it sounds like it maybe took a little bit of time and processing, but that's what you did. It was like, no, no, no. Like I want to take care of this.
I
I want to
just
be
felt so
responsible.
under it
Yeah.
that to come out it was going to eat me alive. You know what I mean? It's like if I break out of this cave I'm in, I'm going to be eaten by a wild animal. I mean, really felt like that. And it was the
Yeah.
guy was like he was an old fart. He was like, "Give me the deal, we'll get it done." And I was like, that just felt so confidence balancing.
Yeah.
Like you feel that way to me, right? Like let's look at it, let's take it, let's do this. I mean, I didn't have that on my own.
Well, and we know that our brain will revert to protect us. And that's where it can make a money situation feel like a wild animal that we
Mhm.
have to protect ourselves from, right? That adrenaline, that, what is it?
Fight.
Or fear or hide or whatever.
I think it's fight, flight, or freeze.
Freeze, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, again, it's like that there's something in our brain telling us we're going to get kicked out of the clan because of this, because we're a liability, because we owe the money, right? And it's like, no, the clan is here. Like this is exactly what you've shown is like when you tell the people, when you ask for help, that's when the fear, that's when the threat dissipates
Mhm.
because the others, they're not going to kick you out. They're going to absorb it for you. They're going to help you. They're going to give you the resources, right? And so, that's a mindset shift and a tool that takes a lot of practice, but you've been through that, right? You've been through that. And now, you've got that evidence that, the Sandy who asks for help, even when the money thing is scary, gets to offload that shame and fear and take action.
And I have a phrase on our website, pinkladyposse.com. You can't be your best self by yourself.
Yeah,
My fears in
that's
my
so good.
head are big. And when I'm in conversation with you, they somehow become balanced because they're not growing in my head, right?
Yeah.
So that's the advertisement for Pink Lady Posse is we want you to have that support. Us, somewhere else, I don't care. But every woman needs a posse. Every woman needs support. And then the other thing is experts are experts for a reason.
Mm,
Right? I mean, you know what you're talking about. So I can do anything, but I can't do everything.
yeah.
I can't be an expert in everything, so why not reach out for help? So I want to just say here that if people are wanting help, in the show notes is information for how to get a hold of Katie. I found her already refreshing, and we haven't even started working together, which is amazing. And then also, Think Pink is our inner circle. If you want an inner circle of support, it's a shocking $47 a month to be surrounded by two people you already mentioned that you know and love, and some amazing women. And then a vision board exercise is coming up. If you want to actually look and say, what was to emerge in me in my life, including money. So that's sort of what we got going on. And I'm so happy to have a conversation. I want to give you a chance to say, if you had a moment with every woman that will ever listen to this, to say, hey, sister, hey, mother, hey, whatever, this is what I want you to hear. What would that be? Have you already said it? Or is there something that just is ready to say straight out? Here's the deal.
I think something that's really important for a lot of women to hear is that most of us feel like we missed a money lesson somewhere. And it doesn't look that way, right? When you look around and you see all the people, the feeling is, I missed something. I missed the money lesson, and everyone else has everything figured out. But the reality is, most of us feel like we missed the money lesson. And if you were to surround yourself with a group like the Pink Lady Posse, you will find that you are not alone. And now is the time to start thinking about, what do you want out of your relationship with money? Because there's no right or wrong answer here. That's it.
I love that. And the money lesson, I feel like I missed it.
Well, that's what I teach. That's what I do. That is my work. Yep, I've got small, medium, and large programs. My podcast is free, so there's a lot of ways to connect with me in the show notes. But the money lesson, whatever that is for you, that's what we find and kind of uncover together.
Well, thank you so much, Katie, for being our expert today.
You're so
And
welcome.
I'm so excited to share you with the world because I don't run into many money teachers. And unfortunately, the money teachers, not unfortunately, but some of the money teachers I run into say, write this down 40 times a day and good things are going to happen. And you know what? I've been writing them down and they're not quite, you know. So another good reason to vision.
I won't. I'm not going to tell you to write anything down except what you want to spend your money on next month. That's
Okay, my fun money. Hey, you know what? I have seasonal affective disorder where I don't get enough sunlight. I start getting moody. And I bought a shirt yesterday that is the so cutest thing. It made my day. And it was like $12. And it was a dachshund with a little striped shirt on. And I wore it last night to the steakhouse. This little old man said, I love your shirt so much. And I'm like, me too. It was my gift for myself with my fun money.
and
So
it just, yeah,
it's
gives you
it's
sunshine.
it's a
Yeah.
great way to live like that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, and I'll make sure everybody you know knows when you're on our podcast, and we'll share the goodwill. Thank you so much. Thank Thanks for tuning in to Pink Lady Posse Podcast, where women go from what now to what's next. Come join us at pinkladyposse.com, where we share community, resources, and tools to support your next beautiful chapter. With love, light, and a little lipstick. See you next time.